Well, there's heated debate over dropping Indiana's requirement for a permit to carry a handgun. The state's top police officer, State Police Superintendent Doug Carter, is against the bill. Now IMPD's Assistant Police Chief Chris Bailey also against it, and I asked him why on tonight's Unfiltered. Assistant Chief Bailey, good to see you. Thank you for taking some time. Why'd you feel the need to write this op-ed?
Well, I think it's important that those of us who have leadership positions within the city make our opinions known to those that make public policy, and I think that this one has been really important to us and to IMPD. As we fight gun violence and murders and non-fatal shootings and shots fired in our city, that this is an important tool that our officers have, and we expect there to be some consequences of having this tool taken from us.
If the governor goes ahead and signs this thing, do you think crime is going to go up?
Well, I don't necessarily think crime is going to go up. I think that the job of the officers and detectives that we task with going after those people that illegally possess weapons, that use those against our neighbors, those investigations are going to become more complicated for our officers. And 1,300 cases pending over at the Marion County Prosecutor's office now from those that have illegally possessed a weapon. Each one of those weapons is a weapon that now we don't have possession of, that we can't test using the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network. That tool allows us to connect guns to multiple gun crimes across not only here in central Indiana, but across the country. And so not having the ability to utilize that tool to solve murders and non-fatal shootings is a step backwards for our investigators.
I'm sure you've heard from both sides. What do you say to supporters of this bill, specifically groups like, and I want to quote them, the United States Concealed Carry Association? I'm sure you're well aware where they stand. They point to other states that have similar legislation and say they haven't seen a rise in crime because of it.
Well, like I said, I don't know that we're necessarily going to see a rise in crime, but solving crimes is just as important to those that have been victimized by gun crimes. And, I appreciate all these external groups. They have their opinions just like I have mine. I'm not going to fault anybody for their particular opinion. They have their interests and we have our interests. And so, I'm speaking on behalf of law enforcement interests, especially here in Marion County. Look, the legislature created the Indiana Crime Guns Task Force last year through a bipartisan bill passed in both houses and signed by the governor that tasks central Indiana law enforcement agencies to combat gun violence. And we're doing that. In fact, they're just getting started. They've taken hundreds of guns off the street. Each one of those guns represents a life saved, in my opinion, from gun violence. And, we don't want their important work to be set back by taking this tool away from them.
Explain to the folks at home who are watching this who maybe aren't aware, how does it make your job more difficult?
When we encounter those folks, I agree with what people say that lawful people are going to continue to follow the law. That's been our, experience as well. But when we have, right now that law puts checks on people who cannot possess a weapon. And I think taking that ability away will allow people to more freely walk around with weapons when they know they're not supposed to have them. And knowing that law enforcement has the less ability to hold them accountable for that weapon. And we see time and time again lawful gun owners, like we saw at the indictment and conviction and sentencing earlier this week of the person that's providing weapons to people that shouldn't have them, both here in Indianapolis and in Chicago. Here's a lawful owner buying weapons legally, possessing them legally, but providing them to those that aren't supposed to have them. So those are the folks that we're worried about, is those that are legally prohibited from possessing weapons, not legal citizens, not those that want to defend themselves in their houses. And I don't think this particular bill solves any particular problem. I think it causes more problems for law enforcement in the long run.
Are you surprised that the governor is considering this?
No, I mean, that's his job, right? I think in my op-ed piece, at the very beginning, I said I want to thank those that are in these positions. They have to make tough decisions. They have to make, as public servants, they're probably pulled in multiple different directions. And so I appreciate all of them that are willing to stand up and do that. Look, the governor and many of those that voted in favor of this bill are supporters of law enforcement. I don't think that diminishes that support for law enforcement. And so I appreciate the work they do. But I also want them to hear our opinion from law enforcement that we think this is going to hinder our efforts to reduce violent crime in central Indiana.
Just a couple more questions before I let you go, and I appreciate you taking some time as always. Have you gotten any pushback after writing this op-ed?
No, I'm sure there will be. There's always going to be people that will take swipes and personal attacks and what have you. I mean, I think that it would be wrong for us not to step forward in leadership positions and make our opinion known. That's what makes this country so great, is that we can have differing opinions and be friends at the end of the day. I respect every single member of the General Assembly and the governor, and they do great work for our city. I just happen to disagree on this particular bill. At the end of the day, I think law enforcement will find a way. We'll adapt and overcome like we always do and always have. And I still consider those people over there I know as friends. They'll be friends tomorrow as they are today. I just happen to disagree on this bill, and that's okay.
Have you had any discussions with the prosecutor's office before writing this or coming to this conclusion?
Well, not necessarily before writing to this, but yeah, we have conversations on a consistent basis with the Marion County Prosecutor's office, as they are also tasked with trying to reduce violent crime in Marion County and Indianapolis. I think that's what our number one priority is in their agency. I know it's our priority here in this agency, and we're going to continue to do that work. We'll see what happens with this bill, and then we will adjust as appropriate to continue to keep the people of Indianapolis and Marion County, both those that live here, those that come here to play, and those that visit, safe as best we can.
Assistant Chief Chris Bailey, thank you so much for taking some time. We'll talk soon.
All right. Take care. Thank you.